Episode 113, Danielle M. Orsino. Good morrow, and welcome back to the Realm. I am author J.V. Hilliard, and I have a very special guest today, another author, friend of mine, who also is an actress, a stunt woman, a cosplayer, a nurse, and a Hall of Fame martial artist. And today I welcome Danielle M. Orsino. Danielle, welcome to the Realm.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be entering the realm with you.
Well, my pleasure to have a fellow fantasy adventure author. So thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself and some of the work that you're working on right now.
I am actually a high fantasy author of the Birth of the Fae series published by Four Horsemen Publications. And currently I'm getting ready to release my fifth book, A Fae is Done.
Well, I saw the Fae series. I started into it when we first met a few weeks ago, and I'm working my way through it. But I know that you're multi-talented, right? You do more than just writing. I know you're also an actress. You're also a martial artist, and you also model for your own covers, which unfortunately I would like to do, but I don't think my publisher would want me to do that. So, but tell us a little bit about that. I mean, that's sort of a strange brew.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of everything, which I never set out to do. So it just kind of happened. As for being on the covers, that was all Erica Lance and Valerie Willis, the owners of Four Horsemen Publications. That was not my idea by any stretch of the imagination. Valerie actually saw my cosplay in my characters, and she saw one of the promo shots and looked at it, and she's like, "What are you doing with these?" And we kind of had a discussion, and she said, "Give me 24 hours." And we had a Zoom meeting the next day. And she took the picture of myself dressed as Lady Serena, who's a mermaid in the book. And she had put it on the cover with one of my dragons, who was drawn by Pandy Van, a phenomenal dragon illustrator. And she was like, she held it up and she said, "So what do you think?" And I was like, what do I think of what? And they were like, "So here's our idea. You're going to be on the cover of the whole series. This is what we're doing." And I had a little hyperventilation moment. And I'm like, "You guys really want to do this?" And they were like, "Totally. This is what we're doing." So the deal we struck collectively was I would do the covers, I would have some say, and that when they decided I could no longer do it, they would hand me a pint of Haagen-Dazs, call me up nicely, and we'd just move on. And that's the deal we struck.
Well, I got to tell you, if I were featured on my cover as one of my characters, it would blow up my own image of my character. How has that affected you? Is it cool? Is it unsettling? Is it all the above? How does it make you feel?
It makes me feel a little bit of everything you just said and add a little drop of nausea in between because it's bad enough when you're an author and your book is coming out. You're like, okay, I'm going to be judged by my words, my work, this is my baby, everything. On top of that, we all say don't judge a book by its cover. We all know we do. So now I'm being judged by what's on the cover, not just the pages in between.
So to that point, do you feel that the covers with you on them help you sell books? Have you gotten positive feedback from your readership?
Some people don't know it's me. My father did not even recognize me on the first cover. I sent it to him and he was like, "Okay, cool. It's a mermaid. Who's the chick?" And I'm like, that's me. And he's like, "No, it's not." So it's kind of been one of those mixed bag things. It's been kind of cool, but it is nerve-wracking when a new cover comes out because I'm like, "Ooh, what are they going to think?"
Well, being an actress, I would think that might be almost second nature for you.
Let's get into this act. The term actress for me is that's loose. I've done stunt work. I acted, quote unquote, in the trailer for Birth of the Fae, and that was only because I fit the costumes, and it was during COVID. So I got labeled as an actress because I fit the costumes and because I've done stunt work.
Yeah, you mentioned something earlier about cosplay, and is that another way that you can market your materials?
It's funny. I've been cosplaying for such a long time that when I made the jump to authorship and just being in the cons, that community was so behind me. They were like, "Hey, it's one of our own." I almost didn't want to market to them because I didn't want them to feel like I'm jumping on a bandwagon.
And on that same theme, when you cosplay, are you always the same character, or do you take on new characters every time you go to a different convention?
When I usually go to Comic Cons, I've been Wonder Woman. Harley Quinn is probably my most requested character. But like I said, I'm a Wonder Woman girl at the end of the day.
Okay. So, Danielle, what inspired you to start writing?
I met a patient actually while I was nursing. who just needed a distraction during IV treatments. He just didn't want to do it anymore. He'd been sitting in the IV room for months. And so I just kind of sat him down, had a conversation, asked him to tell me something interesting about himself. And he mentioned that he had been recruited by the CIA out of college. And so we made some, conspiracy theory jokes.
Sure.
And he said, no, it was for the Trends and Intentions Division of the CIA, the most boring division. And I'm like, still, we could have found out where Lyme came from. And he said, yep, Plum Island. And I was like, no, to this day, I don't know what made me say this. I said the Fae. Don't know why, wasn't reading any books about the Fae. And he sat back in his chair and he said, who are the Fae? And I just made it up. I said, angels that were locked out of heaven after the war with Lucifer. And I just kind of got into this story and just kept talking. So every time he sat down, I would just tell him another chapter and just make it up. I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing. I just thought I was keeping this man entertained. I had no intention of writing a story, much less a series. I was not in any way, shape, or form thinking I'm going to become an author. But this patient kept saying, you need to go home and write this down. You need to go home and write this down. And so I listened to him, and out of it came the whole Birth of the Fae series. That's where it really came from, was this patient. And to this day, he's probably my biggest cheerleader.
So I'm going to shift gears on you a little bit here, because you mentioned earlier that you were a stunt woman. And I also noticed in your bio that you've been inducted into the Martial Arts Hall of Fame. That's, to me, sounds like you're talking about writing way over here, and then you're going to go kick somebody's butt over here. How did you end up being a stunt woman? How did that happen? And the martial arts thing, did it play into it as something that you wanted to do?
Martial arts I fell into, and then the stunt work, it kind of goes hand in hand. My first Kung Fu instructor, Vincent Lin, who was in Operation Condor with Jackie Chan. I mean, he's a movie legend. It was him. He was working, and he kept telling me, this is where you've got to head. This is where you've got to go. And that's how I first started, was just Vincent teaching me. I mean, he had taught me like break falls and basic stuff. He taught me fight choreography. And then I wound up getting Wonder Woman Balance of Power with Red Cape Cinema. And I did all of the Wonder Woman fight scenes.
So that's the route for Wonder Woman then. During all of these trials by fire that he put you through, I'm sure you've met a lot of famous people. Do you have a favorite, someone that treated you really well on set?
I've met The Rock.
Sure.
He was extremely nice. He was coming up through the WWF. He was The Rock, the superstar of wrestling at the time.
Right.
But I wasn't a wrestling person, so I didn't really know. He was really, really cool to me. At one point they were debating who was going to go through the window and get thrown. And they had gone through all the stunt people. And at one point the director kind of slid his eyes to me. And The Rock kind of put his hand and he went, you don't mind, right? And he went, we're not going to throw the littlest one.
Well, hey, look, we're coming to the end of our time. And typically what I do at the end of every show is we have a lightning round. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, 1-2-word answers, and I'll fire these at you and then we'll wrap it up. Are you ready for this, Danielle?
Okay, let me get comfortable here. I'm ready. Here we go.
Good. So you brought this up before. You said you were a comic fan. I'm just going to ask this. This wasn't one of the questions I was planning on asking, but I'm going to ask it anyway. DC versus Marvel, which?
DC.
Okay. Your favorite martial artist?
Oh, Bruce Lee.
Okay. Here's a tough one. In the movie Fight Club, there's a scene where Ed Norton and Brad Pitt are talking about if they could pick anybody from history to fight, who would that be? Who would your person be from history that you could fight, and why?
Christine Bannon Rodriguez. She was the best formed competitor there is. And I would love to do forms with her. And she judged me once. And I want a rematch.
Good answer. I'm sure. Yeah. Okay. So getting back to your authorship, do you have a favorite author, and who is it?
Anne Rice. She just weaves a beautiful story.
So do you have a favorite character from an Anne Rice novel?
Louis. Interview with a Vampire. Luis.
Okay. Gotcha. Now, when you got introduced to me a couple of weeks ago, you put me in touch with a group of women that do podcasts. And I was told that I need to drink while I'm doing their podcast. So I'm going to ask you, and this is my final question, what is your drink of choice?
Barefoot Moscato or Barefoot Riesling. That's usually what I'm drinking when I'm doing drinking with authors with them.
Yeah, I like Riesling too. I'm on the same train. So well, tell everybody where we can reach you, your socials, your website, how they can buy your stuff.
Shameless self-promotion time. I'm getting
That's
good at
right.
this.
That's
There
right.
we go. Perfect. You can always find me at birthofthefae.com, fourhorsemanpublications.com, or the place that all the kids are going to right now is the app Bookie Call, which is on iOS and Android. And it's kind of like your Tinder for books, where you find your next great book date, or Instagram at birthofthefae_novel.
Great. And thank you, Danielle, for coming. We really appreciate having you on the Realm today.
Thank you so much for having me. Chaos be with you.
Thank you very much. A great name for a book, by the way.
Thank you.
Well, I told you guys I had a special guest. Danielle is one of my favorite people to talk to. And I do have a special announcement today. This week, book 2, Vorden's Lair, was released on all distribution channels like Amazon, Apple Books, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Rakuten. And in a couple of weeks, we'll be launching the audio version of the book. So I look forward to hearing what your thoughts are on that. And hopefully you guys remember to leave very kind reviews for me wherever you purchase it. And with that, thank you very much for visiting me on the Realm, and may your gods go with you.